Guys, well played. Huge, huge result. Mo, it just felt like from minute one today, you just smelt blood.
Yeah, it's crazy that the fans were behind us from the first minutes. And I'm glad we managed to win the game. We know City is going to come, try to win the game here, but we managed to play the good game and win the game.
Virgil, years and years of going up against this relentless machine, and to be fair, sometimes getting the better of them. But today, did you sense there was a vulnerability there?
After the game, it's always easy to say these things. I think City is a fantastic team, 4 times champions in a row, and they have quality to punish any team. I think we were very solid defensively. Offensively, we did our part as well. We created good chances and could have scored more. So overall, it's been a great day, and now we recover and be ready for another game on Wednesday.
Yeah, I was watching you actually when you went for the coin toss, and they turned you round, so you were shooting it into the cop first half. You looked really annoyed about that. But actually, did it end up working for you?
I was annoyed by the fact that he started the toss without me even acknowledging. I was obviously busy with my mascot Isaac, and obviously took a little bit of time. But he started the coin toss already quite quickly, so I was a little bit annoyed by that because I think just wait and. But anyway, good game. We won, and we move on.
Mo, talk us through that first goal. Hell of a ball for Cody.
Yeah, I'm a good player, so no, I think we train well to be in. Always, if I have the ball, the other side has to be in the second post. So I told Cody before the game, every time I have the ball, and if the chance for me to play the ball to you, I will play it for sure. So I give him a few balls this season, him and Lucho as well. So we train that ball in training. We managed to do it in the games. Great.
How special are days like this? No, how special is Anfield when it's like this?
It's very special. I said before, I don't take it for granted. I'm enjoying every minute here. It feels like home. So yeah, it's a special feeling always scoring Anfield and win games.
Yeah, even more so at the moment. You've been fairly vocal about your own sort of future and situation. Do you enjoy it more because maybe it's, you know, there's not maybe another City home game left?
Of course. Honestly, that's what's in my head. Like, this is probably until now the last City game I play for Liverpool, so I'm just going to enjoy it. The atmosphere was incredible, so I'm enjoying every second here. And yeah, hopefully we just win the league and see what will happen.
Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you. But what I will ask you, 11 points to City, 9 points to second. How significant is that?
Listen, we focus on the next one. That's the only thing we can do, and that's.
You don't talk about it at all.
No, I don't, of course not. There's no point in this stage of the season to get ahead of ourselves. Obviously, everyone wants to be in a position where they, in this case, 11 points in front of the opponent today. But so many twists and turns. Now we have some injuries as well to our team, unfortunately, and we have to deal with that as well. And you know, it's game by game, and stay calm. But games like this, and when you win it like this, it's always a good feeling. And now we're back to recovery and be ready for a very tough on the way.
Okay, so there was a big debate about player of the match between yourself and the man next to you.
Okay, we give it to him.
Yeah, well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, give it to him.
I had a few, so you can give it.
Oh yeah. So who picked him?
Gary Neville.
Okay, yeah, well done. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm surprised that Cara didn't give it to you, but.
Oh, I wouldn't. Never. I wouldn't give it to me.
Oh, here we go. We're on pundit watch here. The pundits being analysed by players.
Listen to any of that.
Okay. Well done. Well done.
Mo Salah laying down the gauntlet, Jamie.
I'll see him in the car park.
Stood next to Roy. Twins, waiting.
I don't know what they're talking about, Roy. That's unfair. We will come to the contract. There's an awful lot for us to talk about here this evening, but let's start with the significance of this. What do you think?
Huge. You see the reaction of the players, and obviously they've got to play it down a little bit, but huge result, great performance. City obviously look way off it. I know there's lots of stats we look at after the game, but we're watching it live here, and Liverpool were so well ahead of them. Defensively, rock solid, energy, pace, power. They should have scored a lot more goals. They had a real desire then to keep a clean sheet at the end. Outstanding Liverpool performance. I thought they mixed their game up really well, particularly the first half. When to play, when to go long. They turned up basically, particularly their big players. We saw 2 of them there. I thought the 2 players were outstanding.
Given the level of the quality of the opposition, Daniel, the history of this fixture as well and what was at stake, how close were Liverpool to almost perfection with that performance?
Very close. I mean, they controlled the game for the most part, really, in terms of, not conceding too many chances. The first half, City didn't really do much, to be honest. And then, of course, Doku comes on, does a little bit. But besides that, Liverpool had full control of the game. They were threatening, runs in behind, tenacious, attitude. They looked like they wanted it. And there was that feeling in the stands when you hear the fans roaring. And when City, had moments, Liverpool's fans were like, let's, get right behind the boys again. And the players and how the manager set them up today as well, I think was magnificent. He had the midfielders pressing all over the pitch. They set the intensity for the team. All round, fantastic performance from the players, and it was really professional performance as well, because you can let it get out of hand, and they didn't let that happen.
I think you expected a reaction from City, didn't you? I don't remember seeing Pep Guardiola reacting quite like that before, as he did to Liverpool fans singing about him being sacked in the morning.
No, obviously he's going to be annoyed. We've talked about Pep since he come to the club. Obviously his first season was difficult, was nowhere near winning the league, and then he started building that momentum. And what City have done over the last couple of years has been staggering. We did the game last week at Spurs, and he asked me, is it a crisis? I said, no, it's not a crisis, because, you go into the Champions League game and you think, OK, 3-0 up, and then it's 3. And now you come to Liverpool. And it's not just the fact that Liverpool, anyone can come to Liverpool. At Anfield, great stadium, fans were exciting, and it was like a fortress at times. But it's the way they got beat is, for me, I've not seen for a while with this City team. You can talk about the defence, you can talk about midfield, you can talk about attack. It's the collective. If you look at the difference between Liverpool and Man City, they was all together. At times, Man City, there was just disjointed, didn't sort of know what they was going to do. They sort of put Rico Lewis on the right. Obviously, we've seen him in midfield, and he's a right back by trade. You got Matheus Nunes on the left as well. So they got into these good opportunities, but they couldn't do anything with it. It just feels like everything is a yard off.
So does it seal in your mind? You talking before the game about if they lose potentially, possibly, maybe, that means they're out of the title race?
No, I think if you're looking at the stats, if you're looking at the game, and you're analysing the game, it's bleak at this time too. I'm not going to rule them out completely, because football is like that, but I can't see him catching Liverpool at this.
I think it is almost a mini crisis for Manchester City, and I think it's reminiscent of Liverpool 2 years ago. And I actually think Man City might have a fight on their hands for top 4. I actually look at Arsenal and Chelsea and the way they're looking right now. I think it'd be difficult for Man City to finish above them if they don't go into the market in January. And I go back a couple of years, the season Man City won the treble. Liverpool went to the Etihad, I think, in about April, and got beat 4-1. And it could have been 6 or 7, got absolutely battered. And you felt like it was almost the end of that Jurgen Klopp team. But what it was the end of the midfield. This was Henderson and Fabinho at the time. And no matter how good a manager you are, you can't fix that. I don't think Pep can fix that in terms of midfield. Now, this has been going on for 4 or 5 games. He needs to buy players in there. Now, if he can do it in January, who knows, but may need to wait till the end of the season to fix this, because right now I could see Man City maybe losing another 4 or 5 games between the end of the season. And I look at the energy Arsenal have got and the energy sort of the young players Chelsea have got. I think it might be difficult for City to finish above either of them.
The midfield looked weak today, wasn't it? The midfield's a huge problem.
The only thing I would say to that, Cara, is Kovacic, missing Kovacic as well. And we know...
But he can't run either.
No, but in terms of the way Man City set up, when they played in the games, they normally dominate possession. It's on transition, which we've talked about Man City. It's like when you're playing the top teams now. So I still think they're getting to the top 4 because they dominate the ball so much. They're not often in these positions where you can get exposed, But
I think they do need a defensive midfielder, personally, a defensive-minded midfielder. When you look at who they have now, you've got Nunez, you've got Kovacic, you've got Gundogan. The list goes on. The majority of those players are attacking-minded or control players. They're not ones
so what
that
happens
are
if
thinking...
they don't get one of those? And for context, they lost 3 games last season. They've lost 4 on the bounce.
I don't believe that they certainly won't be in the title race if they don't, in my opinion, if they don't sign a defensive midfielder, because you're conceding chances against teams that wouldn't typically get chances against.
But what about Jamie's point? They could slip out of the Champions League.
I think that's a step too far, personally. I think they'll be in the Champions League because I think the best players they have will perform. They're in a rut right now. Haaland's not taking chances. Players aren't, performing to their level. But there'll come a point when it will turn, and Haaland will be flying in, or maybe bang off 10 goals in a row, and then we're like, oh, they're back again. So you can't rule them out completely and say no Champions League. I think they get in the Champions League, but challenging for a title, I think they need a defensive midfielder to do that.
I go back to the Liverpool situation. Liverpool finished 5th that season. Now, we know these two teams have been battling for the title for so long, but when there's a lack of energy in there and everyone thinks you're vulnerable, I mean, Manchester City finished at one stage in the second half. They had Bernardo Silva and Rico Lewis as central midfield. I mean, Bernardo Silva I absolutely love. I mean, what a player. He's not a central midfield player. Rico Lewis is, a decent player, but I mean, that's nowhere near enough. We're talking about, I'm saying, could they finish above? I don't think they'd finish above Arsenal or Chelsea. Look at what they've got in centre midfield. Look at the 3 midfield players Chelsea played today. Look what Arsenal have got midfield. The energy, the power. They can't compete with that at the moment, Man City.
Meanwhile, are Liverpool looking an irresistible force right now?
Absolutely fantastic. Yeah. And they've only had... But, we have to praise the manager. He's done an amazing job. But they were a decent group he took over. And whatever he's added to it, obviously his personality and...
Nobody thought, though, Roy,
no, of
that
course
they would go
not.
on this run.
No, absolutely not. Of course not. But that's the game we all love and watch. And you're watching teams and it can be unpredictable. And if you said at the start of the season Liverpool would be where they are now, you wouldn't believe them. You think they need locking up. But their performances, defensively, they're very good. Again, their big players are turning up for the big occasions. I know there's been a standing joke. They've not really been tested yet. But when they've had been... even last week, I was at the Southampton game. They were awful, but they scored 3 goals and they won the game. Today, they're on the back of a big result in Europe. They turned up today. And when the game started, we're talking about the physical side of Liverpool against Man City. We're thinking, no way were Liverpool losing today. Absolutely not. And it wasn't just their effort. They showed great quality. And their decision-making in terms of possession was excellent.
So did the first goal come down to decision-making? Did it come down to individual quality in that moment rather than any kind of team shape?
Well, again, decision-making and quality. When you see Trent on the ball and he's got time, as a defence, you've got to back off. And again, we talk about, I've said before, defensively in moments, they don't have that intensity. Man City, even still, very, very good player from Liverpool, but where's the intensity from City? This is a world-class ball from Trent, but we've seen Trent do this many a time. We see Salah with the space, and when he's running at you 1v1, you're in trouble. Now, a lot more happens after this. It's a brilliant ball in. We look at people like Walker. Walker just switching off. It's a brilliant ball, and we see people like De Bruyne are just off it, Silva just off it, and these players have been juicing for years and years. I mean, they're all off it. It's like the perfect storm at the moment for the opposition teams. City are just off it. Brilliant ball, brilliant goal, one-touch finish. We talk about Salah turning up. He's got a goal and assist.
How many players are this relaxed and have this much time in these positions?
Well, that one makes him world class. It's the end product. He produces.
Micah, what about the City efforts defensively in that?
Yeah, well, I talked about Kyle Walker, and I'm not picking on him. He's captain, but the captain's supposed to be the leader on the pitch. But just look at his position here with Gakpo. I mentioned about not getting back in as soon as possible. He's jogging in. He doesn't know where Gakpo is. By the time he looks, he's already behind him. You have to get back in early and face the ball. This is what's costing Man City. Yes, they didn't have a great day today, but it's individual mistakes that keep costing them. If you have men back and you get midfield and just a little bit of protection, you can get that away. But the fact that he's just ball watching constantly, and I've sung his praises for so long now. We can't walk up, but we need him now to be the leader on the pitch. Get people back in position early.
That looks
talk,
a robust conversation
organisation
between those two.
Yeah, look, I'm not here to pick on play. It's a system. If you're playing in that, of course, he's played right back at times where he's had to provide the width. When you got Rico Lewis going inside, you have to be high and wide. But he's still a right back at the end of the day. Get back. I used to do it all the time. It's one of those where you constantly think that your pace is going to get you out of trouble. And when you get older and you start losing a little bit of pace, then you constantly...
I just think that the ball was amazing. And as the attacker, I've been a Gakpo in that moment when you gamble because you think my mate has it in him to play that pass, or a deflection happens and whatever. That's your job as the opposite winger to make that run. From the fullback's perspective, I don't know what goes through a fullback's mind in thinking, I've got to make that run and play other people onside. I don't know how that works.
I think defensively, you're hoping it doesn't go in, or the attacking players believe it's going to go into that position.
Absolutely.
You're talking about maybe a separate issue when you're talking about his pace. That's been a problem for Kyle Walker since we first seen him. But he was that quick, not in situations like that, because he got caught out in the summer. I think it was maybe 3 goals against England in the summer, where he gets done at the back post because he can switch off. That's always been the negative about him. Yeah, he has a little look and he just doesn't look again. And Gakpo's brilliant at scoring at the back post. But you see, he has a little look over his right shoulder there, and then he doesn't look again. I mean, he just switches off there for a second before, you know, it's in the back of your net. But that has been a problem throughout Kyle Walker's career, and that's never going to go away.
Jimmy, if an attacker can see a defender's number, he's in trouble. Yeah. He's not aware what's around him. And Walker, for all his experience, he's either unaware what's around him or he takes the gamble that's not going to go in there.
But the problem he's got now as a player is that that's always been a weakness. That's nothing to do with his age. But his athleticism would be that good in the game that if he let in a goal like that, maybe every 5 or 6 games, you go, I'll put up with that because he saves us on the counter-attack or he's bombing forward, getting crosses in. You're not getting that side of it now, so it becomes a little bit of a liability for Man City.
At 1-0, Liverpool were still having chances into the second half. The game, it felt like, was very much in the balance at that point. City were growing into it, maybe a little bit in terms of possession. Then they made the change, brought on Darwin Núñez. 6.5 minutes later, he had this impact. Was that crucial, Daniel?
Very much so. He was working his socks off and he causes all sorts of problems. And then you see the proactive Diaz, who's, you know, working off of the pressing. They're all going in numbers, and Walks maybe thinks he's got a bit more time than he does. Diaz shows the pace, and obviously the keeper takes him out. I mean, he had to go for it in the end. But look, the pace of these players and the anticipation of saying, you know what, the keeper's coming out, I'm just going to nick it round him and win myself a penalty. And
what about the nerve of a man who missed, of course, on Wednesday?
I mean, in these moments, probably when you miss a penalty, you want one as quick as possible to get it right.
Did you?
No, I didn't, to be fair, because I wasn't on pens, but I know players who have obviously, you know, missed the penalty, and it's like, can't wait for the next game to put it right. If you miss a chance as a striker, I've missed one, can't wait for the next game to put it right. So I think in these moments, you're like, I've prepared for this, I need to now shut people up. Now there's not a question of, can he take penalties, is he big, is he this or that? It's like, no, I've done it already now, let's move on.
Do you think that tells us a little bit about Mo Salah, if indeed we didn't know it all already?
Yeah, there was no doubt he was obviously going to take it. And yeah, I think the top players do move on quickly when they've had a little disappointment or a setback. That makes them great players. They're not afraid to lose. They've got bottle to step up again. And Salah certainly has that. And even over the last few weeks, and even with the interview after, he's a bit chirpy with his contract stuff. And he's shown another side to his personality. And he'd done that in the last year or two when he was taken up in a few big games for Liverpool with Klopp, and he was, you know, spitting his dummy out. So he's showing that other side to him, that he obviously cares about the game. But ultimately, he's a world-class player. He's in a great position with Liverpool with his contract situation. And he's producing, and what I would give him credit for when this contract situation is going on with a player, and it's out in the open now, obviously, and people are talking about him, criticising him and saying he's this or he's selfish, or whatever it might be. But he's turning up. I think that's what the real top players will put that to the side and go, I'm still going to produce in the big games. And that's why I take my hat off to him.
Daniel, he's had some criticism, Mo Salah. He's been called selfish for raising the situation around his contract and seeking out reporters when he might not normally do that.
Seeking them out.
which is what he did last week, of course, down at Southampton. What should Liverpool do?
It's the Jerry Maguire moment. You've got to show me the money. it's stay with me, Jamie. You know, for real. Like, I think these types of it's as simple as it gets. These types of players. He scored what now? Is that 234 goals for the club this season? Top scorer, assists, top of that. Where do you replace those numbers? It's either as collectively as a team, or you're not going to find individual player that over the course, it's very, very difficult. These are rare finds in football. So is he slowing down? Are the stats slowing down? Is his intensity? Is his mindset?
Let me show you one graphic, Daniel. Yes, absolutely, his output is extraordinary right now in terms of those attacking stats. You see the goals are increased, the goal involvements, his shots on target and his dribble success all up under this manager. Yep. But is there something to say that maybe the physical stats were much better under Jurgen Klopp and he is slowing down? Or is it just adapting his game because of his years?
Maybe it's the manager's asking him to press less. Maybe it's, you know, less defensive work and more attacking work. I'm saying a player of Mohamed Salah's qualities deserves to be paid, whether it's a 2 to 3 year contract. If it's 2 years and he's asking for big dough, you've got to pay it. I mean, to be honest with you,
he's always, lads,
you've got a different opinion to that, though, haven't you, Cara? In terms of that, we've talked about it all this week. I would pay him not what he wants, but you can't let him go for free. He's 33.
No, he will be 33
at the end of his when the contract's ready. If you give him 2 years till 35.
2 years?
Yeah, but the difference is now, historically we were saying it's too much because players are slowing down physically. But he's in great shape.
Not a problem. Listen, I think it's probably being lost. I've got no problem with Mo Salah and Virgil van Dijk. They are two of the greatest players to ever play for Liverpool. If Liverpool as a club, and we know they're run by data, so you can't actually say, oh, we're delighted Michael Edwards is back and all the data people are back because that fell away at the end of Klopp's time and they're back and we've got this Moneyball situation and we're delighted that's back. But then on the other hand, say, give someone what he wants. You can't say give someone what he wants.
But you never get what you want, do you?
No, but
never get what you want.
The point being is, these two, Virgil van Dijk and Mo Salah, if Liverpool do have let's say there's a rule, like of anyone over 30 only gets a certain length of contract, you have to move the dial for players like that. I'm not saying he shouldn't get a 2-year deal. I'm not saying he should be on big money. He's on big money now, and rightly so. He's one of the best players in the world. But this idea and this saying that keeps giving what he wants. This club is not built on giving people what they want. That's why the success of the club has come through being ahead of the game, buying Mo Salah for 40 million. When nobody else in nobody else in the Premier League even looked at him because Liverpool were ahead of the game in terms of the data. So I'm just saying, Liverpool, keep doing what you're doing. Don't be giving someone a 3 or 4 year deal. If you normally give someone an extra year, no, you move the dial for a Mo Salah or a Virgil van Dijk. There's no problem.
There has been, suggestions that part of this reason that City are struggling right now is because they're an ageing side. Some people say they're a side in decline because of that. If you're giving Mo Salah another 2, potentially 3 years, Virgil van Dijk another 2-3 years, might they be in that situation quite soon?
I personally don't see Mo Salah and Virgil van Dijk slowing down at this particular stage. Maybe in a couple of years, maybe I don't know. I'm saying right now at this moment in time, they obviously should be at the football club next season. It's not a question of whether they should be at the club or not. It's a case of how long is the contract and will they accept that length of contract for the finances. There's going to be numbers out there for them players, including Trent, that is going to be bigger than Liverpool. Let's keep it real. There's going to be more than Liverpool are going to offer. What they're going to get on the outside. It's the truth. But for them, do they have it in their stomach to say, I want to win Champions Leagues, I want to win Premier Leagues, I want to do it at this football club? So if that's the case, they'll sign.
But the big plus for Salah, on top of all, is the negotiation. Amazingly, he's always available. He's always fit. So you try and replace that. If they've got somebody else in the building that will get you over 20 goals a season and he plays every game, then that's fine. You might say, we've got a couple of young lads coming through, you move on. But to try and replace Salah, who guarantees you these performances in the big occasions, to try and replace that, you've mentioned earlier, you'd have to go and spend fortunes, obviously. And the people coming in on that huge money will want the big contract. And there's no guarantee they will produce for Liverpool. You already have a player in the building. And again, we're not talking about, when this idea, I agree with you, give them what they want. Nobody gets that. That's why it's called negotiation. You obviously go in high, they come in and you try and meet in the middle somewhere. But how Liverpool, if they can take the chance of letting him walk out the building on a free, and we're talking about the modern players, these are fitness freaks.
I think last season was the first time he dropped below 80% of Premier League minutes in his Liverpool career. Do you have any issue, just finally on this, Daniel, any issue with the way that he's sort of, as I say, seeking out reporters last week? He's made...
You agree with me?
No, I don't agree with you.
I don't agree with him.
I don't agree with him. But what I'm saying is, my personality, I'm saying he's speaking more with the press now.
So do you agree with that? Do you think that's right, or do you think it's wrong?
What I'm saying to you is, players who have individual mindsets go about things in their own way. The likes of Cristiano Ronaldo was questioned at times, and Ronaldo would do interviews or go about things in certain ways. There's individuals out there whom, when they're at the top and they're one of the greatest, and they start getting questioned or things don't start to go their way, they approach things in a way that says, do you know who I am? Do you know who you're messing with right now? Like, I'm Mo Salah. I've done all these things. Just like in an interview, he goes, well, yeah, great players see those passes. Like, he's sure of himself. He doesn't doubt himself one bit. So if you don't want to pay me, that's okay. I'll go to one of the other best teams in the world, or I'll go to wherever he sees, and he'll say, you don't respect me enough. I think it's about respect and him saying, pay me what I deserve, because if you don't, I'll find somewhere else that will do it.
I agree with that. Mo Salah sees himself as that type of player, and rightly so. But for me, Virgil van Dijk's one of those type of players. And all I'm asking for is for Mo Salah not to come out after every game where he scores a goal and talk about his own situation. Virgil van Dijk's in exactly the same situation and handling it brilliantly. Just saying there's nothing to report at the moment. Move on. It's about the club more. The club is always more important than the individual, especially with Liverpool top of the Premier League and top of the Champions League.
Salah done his talking on the pitch today. That's where he done his talking. Take more note of that than the odd quote or the odd little tantrum.
Give them all what they want. It has been an extraordinary start to life with Liverpool boss for Arne Slot, beating City by 2-0 today. It's only the 4th time in top division history a team has been 9 points clear at this stage. He's giving his reaction to Patrick Davison.
Well, Arnold, maybe with the exception of some missed chances, was that pretty close to perfect?
Yeah, and if you look at work rate, I think it was perfect. Yeah, the amount of chances we missed that made it that it was tight till the end. But yeah, maybe that's also the nice part of a game like this. It should be like this, but in an ideal world, we would have scored earlier the second one, yes.
Was the plan to go at them right from the start, to kind of go for the throat, or does Anfield, with its atmosphere, just almost demand that of you in a game like this?
I think if you watch every game of us, which you probably have done, then you know that we always want to press high. But the thing is, they can do build up very well. They can play the ball out from the back very, very well. So then you have to put a lot of effort in, or you have to take the risk of playing 1v1. But we put a lot of effort in. We forced them to a few mistakes, which led to some chances. That gives us energy. That gives the crowd energy, and that helps, of course, because apart from our players, the crowd was fantastic today as well.
You said before the game, you mentioned City basically playing without wingers and not being sure how they were going to line up. What did you make about how they went about it first half?
Yeah, they always make it difficult for you in the way they position, and but in general it's mostly the same formation, but players can go to different positions. And yeah, it's not only formation; it's 9 or 10 times the quality of the players that make it difficult for you, and that's also what they had on the pitch today. But yeah, the good thing for us is we have some quality players on the pitch as well.
I suppose at the beginning of the season, because of a new manager, there was a little bit of uncertainty about how this would go for Liverpool. Has this week, beating Real Madrid, beating Man City, underlined what kind of season this is going to be? Maybe you won't win things, but you will be competing for the very biggest prizes.
No, we're a compatible team, and it's very difficult to beat us. But therefore, we need to put the effort in, like we put in every single game. And yeah, you also saw today the injuries we have at the back. We had to take care of Trent. Maybe he could have played 90, but yeah, it's a risk with all these games coming up, so we had to take him off after 70. And Joe did really well today to replace Ibu, and Joel came in a, for him, unfamiliar position. So that is the challenges we face at the moment, but every team faces these challenges during the season, and it's up to us to get the best out of it, and that's what we did today. But again, a big week coming up with Newcastle and Everton.
I mentioned the ferocious start, but I actually wonder if the biggest difference you've made with Liverpool, like we've seen lots of fast starts under Jurgen Klopp, but the second half, the way you managed it, barely gave any chances away, hit them on the break. Do you think that maybe that flexibility is what that little, you talked at the start of the season, just adding a few little nuances to the base you inherited?
Ideally, I would have loved to see the second half being the same as the first half, but yeah, the quality of the other team is also that much that there are phases in the game or that they have the ball, and then it's up to us to defend really strong in and around our 18-yard box, and I think that's also what we did. If you want to win against City, like I think I said before the game, you have to be perfect in every part of the game: high press, low press, build up, in every part, because yeah, they bring so many problems to you. So and I think we came close to perfection. We weren't perfect. We came close to perfection, and that's the only win you can beat a quality team like City.
And lastly, I think today was your 20th game in charge, all competitions. Can you believe how well it's gone?
I can believe because it's happening at the moment, but I don't think anyone, including me, would have predicted this. I knew that Jurgen left the team in a very good place, but yeah, still to win so much with all the difficult teams we faced already,
is something you can't predict before the season. But like I said, we're not the only one. I saw Arsenal yesterday, I saw Chelsea today, and I saw City playing. They will come back because these teams have so much quality. They can have the same run as us. So we have to stay sharp and focused for the upcoming weeks.
Well done.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Cheers.
Yes, 20 games as Liverpool manager, and Arne Slot has won 18 of them. We've talked about some of his players and how impressive they are, but how impressed have you been with him, with Arne Slot?
He's cool, isn't he? He's a cool guy, and the players are... I think there was, obviously, what helped them, I suppose, at the start of the season, there was no pressure on Liverpool, really, when they came in. Obviously, didn't really spend in the transfer market, so everyone was maybe seeing how this kind of goes, and he said himself, nobody would have thought they would have been so far ahead. Their performances, defensively outstanding. There's what they had today with obviously quality. There's an energy about them. I think the team reflect the manager as well. There's certainly a calmness to their play, which is key, I think, in terms of we praise Klopp. Klopp's been amazing. Again, that kind of high energy football. But they have that, and they do it at the right times. And there's also a time where they're cool and calm and of looking after the ball and getting their recovery. And so. Any team that can finish ahead of Liverpool this season in the league will be doing very, very well.
Do you think, Daniel, because they haven't signed players, which is unusual when a new manager comes in, that there are still questions as to how much of this is about Jurgen Klopp and how much is about a different approach from Arne Slot?
I think Arne Slot has rejuvenated the squad a little bit, because I think it's new messaging, it's a new approach from and I think the players have bought into it a lot. Obviously, the Dutch connection with Virgil as well would have transmitted that within the dressing room, made it very clear to the team how the manager would want them to go about their business. And I agree with Roy, the calmness of it. I think it's a completely flip side approach from how the managers are. I think Jurgen led with his heart, whereas Slot seems to almost more of a mental thing. But it's interesting because you wouldn't have anticipated it would happen so fast, that they would compete the way they are. So it's really impressive.
I just think watching Slot, I think as a defender, you probably back me up on this. When I used to watch Liverpool under Klopp, they was outstanding, but they did give you a chance, and that high line. Now, if you look at them now,
they
just
go
stressful
back. Being a
yeah,
defender
it was.
in a
I mean,
team.
when you're constantly running that way, it is difficult. Now they look a little bit more composed. If you watch Trent this season, his defending has been miles better. Okay, when Doku came on the one-on-ones, he wasn't getting tight enough, but the structure of the team and the balance just seems a little bit better, and they can adapt to different situations where previously they would always play well. They call it heavy metal football, but it just felt like there was always an opportunity you could get in behind.
The thing I would say with Jurgen Klopp type of football, you'd probably argue it was more exciting, but it had to be perfect to be good defensively. I think there was only a couple of seasons where Liverpool had a really good defensive numbers. I think the season they went really close with City, and the season after they win the league. And besides that, didn't have a poor defensive record, but it certainly wasn't what we've seen now. So he's made them better defensively, more controlled, but also what he's done to certain individuals within the team. Liverpool have been looking for a holding midfield player for sort of the last 2 or 3 seasons. Jurgen Klopp couldn't get one. Jurgen Klopp didn't think Gravenberch was that player. He was playing him as an attacking midfield player. He's put him there, and right now he looks as good as anyone in the Premier League in that position. And also we see Luis Diaz as a centre forward. Jurgen Klopp put Gakpo as a centre forward for a lot of time. He's put Gakpo on the left. Diaz is now playing in that central position at times. So you can see the little tweaks he's made to actually individuals who are already part of the squad.
This lead is now 9 points, and historically, teams go on to win the title from this kind of position. Every time, in fact, teams had more than 6 points or more lead at this stage, they have, in Premier League history, gone on to win the title. And they've done it by almost 12 points on average. So, what are the dangers from here?
The dangers
don't not worry about much any other teams, but in terms of Liverpool themselves.
Well, just look at the injuries right now. I think if they got another 1 or 2 injuries, certainly defensively, they'd have a problem. A real problem. They may end up having to put maybe a midfield player, a fullback, or something like that. So that could be a problem. And also domestic cup competitions. Last season and a couple of years before that, Liverpool, at this stage of the season, were talking about 4 trophies. And one season they ended up winning the 2 domestic cups, but lost the Champions League final, lost the Premier League on the final day to City. Last season there was talk, Europa League, they won the Carabao Cup, and the FA Cup game at Manchester United just absolutely almost finished the season in some ways. Now, you cannot deliberately lose games or try and get, not do as well as you can. You're Liverpool, you have to compete in every competition. But if I was given the manager any advice, I would not be playing any first-team players in domestic cup competitions, because the reason no one's ever won 4 trophies in a season before, because it's almost impossible. That could be a problem for them. If they could just concentrate on the league and the Champions League, I think they're going to take some stopping.
Only 75 points still to play for. Is anyone prepared to put the bunting up yet for Liverpool? Declare them champions?
No, after 13 games, I think this, elaborating on Kara's question, I think if they was to lose Salah or Van Dijk, we talked
January.
Pre-match. It's different. We talked about the big players turning up. I mentioned Odegaard and Saka for Arsenal, obviously Rodri and Kevin De Bruyne for Man City. Salah, watching Salah is just incredible. Not because I played with him many moons ago, but he doesn't have to even play well, but he still makes a difference in the key areas. Daniel talked about his pass, and then he's finished, he misses penalties, and nothing phases him.
I was asking about Liverpool winning the title.
That's different, but that's what I mean. I think if you lose Van Dijk and Salah, things become a lot.
If they stay fit,
then it's very difficult for everyone else.
I don't know. I feel like Liverpool are looking, very good right now. I think it's, I agree with the guys. I think it's injuries. I think it's mentally staying in it and not letting opportunities slip by when you're playing against certain opposition. There's how you obviously win leagues is by beating the teams you're supposed to beat. And we've seen a lot of those teams actually are performing quite well. So it's about continuing to put teams away when you have opportunities in the first half today when you're missing 5 or 6 chances. You can't do that regularly and expect to win a title.
I think whenever there's a week of 3 Premier League games in a week, a lot can change. Now, no disrespect to Man City, they've been amazing for the last 5 or 6 years. But when I looked at this week, I looked at Newcastle away Wednesday night and then play Everton away 12:30. That's a quick turnaround, and that's if Liverpool could come through that with 4 to 6 points, they are in a great position. Because if I'm an Arsenal player or the manager looking at the next 2 games Liverpool have had, they're not easy.
you don't get any league medal in December. This team will take some stopping.
There we go. Sounds like Jamie's almost got the bunting out, though. City beaten here at Anfield this afternoon, 2-0, 11 points adrift now of the lead. 15 major trophies they've won under Pep Guardiola. Champions, as Pep reminded the Liverpool fans, in the last 4 seasons, and in 6 of the last 7 seasons. It's also 6 defeats in the last 7 matches. Here he is with Patrick Davison.
Well, Pep, it probably wasn't realistic to think you would come here and everything would be perfect and confidence would be at the top level. But what do you make of what you have seen?
Well, the first 50-20 minutes, they were unstoppable. Their strengths were strong. We tried to, with the conditions that we have, play with a lot of control, a lot of passes. It was difficult to take it. And after we took the game, of course, they will deserve the first goal. And but we finished really good the first half and the second without not too much threat. So I know how strong they are in the boxes, Liverpool in both sides, and don't do mistakes. And after up front, the transitions always had in the. But since I met Liverpool, so and yeah, congratulate them and restart from here. Try to make a reset from zero and yeah, it's difficult to believe it, but I rely a lot with these players. I know how they are doing and in that position, and yeah, and at the end of the season, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, you said that you picked a team to try and play lots of short passes, to try and control it. How difficult is that to do here, and could your team have done it any better?
Yeah, always you can do it, but there are players that make an effort playing in not his positions, and because we don't have an alternatives, and all I can say thank you to them, because I know the commitment that they do without the ball. I know that, but I don't know, maybe it's something inside of me that I had the feeling that we will build from here, restart and try to make some good run and try to win games.
What will it take then to reset? I think you said to build from here. What will it need?
No, there is a moment that there are moments that maybe we'll have to make a click, and we'll do a click, and and everything. So today Kevin make a good minutes because we need that pace and didn't have when I see the last games, and Jack played good in that position as well, and Jeremy got a good minutes after 1 month out. So so Bernardo, Rico, and a lot of minutes in his legs, and Nathan was exceptional against maybe one of the most toughest wingers ever, and with Salah. So I take something. So congratulate, I would say, Liverpool. They deserve the victory and accepted the situation right now and build from that.
How tough or how significant is not just the injuries, but the players that are out there, maybe having to come back into the team early, so there's guys out there who aren't 100% fit themselves?
Yeah, that's what it is. With the pre-season as well. Pre-season, we don't have pre-season, started Community Shield, and the players come back a bit late and after injuries. And I know, but we have to survive with that. So I think we compete. We didn't create that much chances, but in certain moments we were there in terms of what we wanted for the pace that we have right now in the middle, especially. So in terms of duels, they are stronger, and you have to survive with the ball. If the game is, transitions, we don't have Gundo and Rico and Bernardo, or I don't know, to make a transition the 30-40 meters that they have with Gravenberch, it was Alai on McAllister and the pace up front. So, and we had to do it, but I cannot forget which players I have. So I cannot forget, and I'm here sitting, being a manager, defending what we have done in the past, thanks to them, and more than ever, I want to be with them and help them. And of course, we have to change results, but in the right time, we will take the decision.
Yeah, you talked there about defending what you've done in the past. We saw you hold 6 fingers up to the crowd during the game, again at the end.
All the stadiums want to sack me. Oh my God! I started from Brighton. Maybe they're right. Maybe I must be sacked for the results that we have. But I didn't expect an Anfield that. So
you didn't?
No. So, with 0-1, I 1-0 for them. Didn't do it with 2-0. And maybe we should do it in the past. Sing the song in the past, not now. Now let's take advantage. I didn't expect for the people from Liverpool, but it's fine. It's part of the game. I understand completely and accept it. And we had an incredible battles together. They win, we won, and I have a respect, and that's it.
Is this going to be not just a day, but a year where they win at 11 points behind them now? Are we going to have new Premier League champions this season, do you think?
Well, I said before that game that we are not in the position and the results we are getting to think about in the big targets, but the season is long, and we have to try to make a result, and after we come back, some players will come back, and after everything will be better, and we'll be late maybe, I don't know, but there are many things to fight, and yeah, we're going to try.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thanks.
Well, he took it in good humour. He hasn't heard it too often before, and you don't when you're winning title after title. He looked like he was shocked to hear it.
Yeah, I think because he said it was at Anfield, and we always say Liverpool fans would be obviously respectful, but they're obviously just poking a bit of fun at him. They're probably still hoping he will be sacked because they know how brilliant he is. But he's took it in good humour, obviously, and he took it in the right spirits. But you could see he's flat after the match. He's mentioned about building stuff up again with the team, but Pep and his staff have got big problems to solve.
We always say, Daniel, never write off Manchester City. Never write them off. But can we now?
I'm not going to right now. I'm really not. I know that there's a lot of things have to happen, but to say you're going to write them off completely, I just think it's premature. I think
that team cannot win the league, though, can that team is...
I don't think so. I don't think they can, but you can't write them off.
What evidence do you see of this turning round for City?
I think they've got players, for me, right now, John Stones has played defensive midfield for them, and they've been successful with him in that position. Whether they buy somebody in January, Haaland can get going and can start rattling off goals left and right. Kevin De Bruyne can come back, and all of a sudden, you know, he starts getting in the rhythm of playing. I think there's players within the squad that are world-class football players, and they can get a rhythm, gain their confidence again. The manager can find a system and players that he believes in, an 11 that he's not changing, and that can be the difference.
Something's going on with Kevin De Bruyne. Kevin De Bruyne has been the best player for me in the Premier League for the last 5 seasons. I mean, the fact he's not starting games, he doesn't come on at half-time. I'm not trying to create more trouble for Manchester City in terms of, you know, talking about a story, but something is not right there between those two, and it's maybe sad because we're talking about one of the greatest managers we've ever seen and one of the greatest players we've ever seen in the Premier League, and I think his contract finishes at the end of the season, had a few injury problems, but something is not right when as soon as he's fit, he doesn't go straight back in. Or it doesn't come on at half-time. Something is...
He missed a great chance as well. He does look a little bit off it, though. I know he's trying to get back up to speed. He had a great chance to score, and you think it could be a mad last 10 or 15 minutes there, but yeah, you're always surprised when De Bruyne's not on the pitch.
Kevin De Bruyne is struggling. Phil Foden, Player of the Year last season, 19 goals, has not scored one this. Haaland, we've seen in fits and starts, other players that you've talked about, the levels have dropped. Is there any question, Micah, that the players have stopped responding or are not responding right now to their manager?
No, I don't think they've stopped responding. I think all players have all been in dressing rooms. Sometimes you get frustrated, whether you're playing or you're not. I think the intensity in which he's had them performing for so many years, even he said in his interview beforehand, there's a level where you might drop off. He was expecting it before. And I think we're just finding out the players, we're getting a bit older now, and in midfield, they're getting overrun. At the back, they're making the wrong decisions. But when you ask about Pep and what he's done in the Premier League and why, when you ask the question to Daniel, have they still got a chance and why he doesn't want to concede right now, is because he's a trendsetter. When we talk about fullbacks coming in, when you talk about centre-half stepping in as well, putting players on different positions, putting John Stones in a number 10 in a Champions League final, he has changed the game completely. And we're all sort of here now figuring out ways is how is he going to do the next thing to get them back playing? At this moment in time, they look like they've lost a bit of energy and that intensity. But in terms of the manager, you always think he's going to figure something out somewhere down the line.
I think we can all obviously be quite critical and as ex-players, but I don't think any of us could sit here and criticise Pep or Man City for what they've done. And it's just a reminder to all of us, the standards, their points total, their style of play, the type of goals, the type of football they've played, it's just been unbelievable.
But it's not about now so much as it's about the future. We're talking about, Roy, you played under Sir Alex Ferguson for so many years, and yeah. What would he do? He would sometimes bring in a new voice as an assistant or change something.
Yeah, of course, and it's about getting players in. And again, I suppose Pep and the staff would be looking at it. They'll look in January, but maybe in the summer, almost another rebuilding job, build another team. That's what he's got to do. But we say, you talk about the future, but you still have to give credit to these players and Pep for what they've done in the last few years. They've set the standard of the Premiership. I play for Man United, and it's not easy for me to say that. So we see a Man City team here getting easily beaten. They looked weak in midfield. They didn't look like they were all in it together. And it's just a combination of lots of stuff, injuries. We're talking about here Pep. How is he? Pep's going to fix it. If anyone will fix it, it'll be Pep. He's one of the greatest managers of all time. But the beauty, what I'm kind of enjoying, I don't mean in a sick way, I'm enjoying seeing him struggling. It's great because all of a sudden we're thinking, Pep got all the answers. Not at the moment, he hasn't. But recruitment, whatever, and we talk about recruitment. Some of that recruitment recently hasn't been that great. So there's a question marks over lots of areas of Man City.
I think Roy's right. I think there'll be a lot of coaches up and down the country watching his interviews before every game and after every game, how he deals with that situation. And I think that, I don't know what the right word I'm looking for is, but not so much enjoying it, but actually thinking, finally, he's maybe going through a little bit what every other coach goes through, sleepless nights, waking up in the morning, the first thing you think about, should I try him? And you're second-guessing yourself because everything he's ever tried before has worked. But I think what it shows is, no matter how great you think these managers are, they still need great players. And I go back to Jurgen Klopp a couple of years ago when his midfield's legs had gone. He finished outside the top 4. Pep's first season at Manchester City, he didn't have the full-backs he wanted to do what he wanted. I think he had 4 full-backs at City. And I think Gail Clichy was on, Sanya, there's maybe another couple. They didn't have the legs and the energy. They finished 3rd. As soon as he got the players he wanted, they ran away, won everything. But they haven't got the midfield players right now in terms of legs and energy to do what he wants. And that's why they're struggling. And I don't think there is a real quick fix to this.
Well, they're obviously massively low on confidence as well. Could one win, Daniel, change the direction of travel for City? Whether it comes, whether it's against Forest this week?
Not one. I think it's an accumulation of performances where they gain belief. Multiple players are performing well at the same time, and they gain momentum. I think it's about gaining momentum now, and once you build on one performance, build on to the next, and it's a game-by-game situation right now.
Yeah, you look at City over the last few years. City would look at them games when they're in their prime, going, "Listen, you'd fancy them to win all of them."
They look awful now.
They look awful.
That's what we showed this
Yeah,
year. The fixtures,
they
we could
look
be sitting
tough,
here after them 6 games. Man City won all 6 of them.
Yeah.
That is the difference.
But when
and
you're in the run of form that you're in now for any team, you start looking at that one in midweek and you go, Chris Wood's playing well, isn't he?
And Manchester United as well.
United come
Suddenly looking hard again.
Absolutely. But even Pep there, like saying you're getting sacked in the morning. Just think of all the managers up and down the country who they listen to that every week. So it's not,
what was it like?
I said, when I was manager, most weeks. But it just makes Pep look ordinary at the moment, and that's great for other managers. Gives them encouragement.
Do you want to go car baggers?
I've been nice to you all day. There's a low blow that.
Do you know what? We're not talking about Arsenal right now, are we? Well, obviously they're not been playing today, but
Yeah.
are they the biggest danger, do we think?
Yeah, I think now that they've got Odegaard back in the team, I think they look like a different proposition. I think with too reliant on Saka, he was getting doubled up at times, and now Odegaard's creating that space. And not even just a space, it's his football brain and the passes that he can make. Them defence-splitting passes that not a lot of players in the Premier League can do.
I think in some ways Arsenal will be kicking themselves because this is... City are having a bad season. City are not the same that we've seen, and they'll probably think, "We're Liverpool. That should be us. This was our season to do that." So I think there'll be a frustration with what's happened at the early on in the season. I think since the last international break, Liverpool's next 4 was sort of Southampton here and 2 away games. So they had 3 away games in the 4. It looks like Arsenal are back winning games, but if Liverpool win their games, you look at it and you think, well, Arsenal haven't gained on them, and Liverpool have actually played tougher games. You've got City out the way at home. They played 3 away games, so. I really do think this week is sort of Arsenal will be looking at and thinking Liverpool will drop points in one of those games. But if they don't, I think it'll be a body blow for them.